bet it's a bullet gonna get the last laugh.
I think that speaks to how like difficult Tekken is, just memory wise, which is why I think the whole lab to matchup response to everything is not okay. People write down flashcards to remember their own tools. Think about that. You write flashcards to remember what your own character is capable of. Yet people will expect you to remember like the most obscure things possible for other characters. I think that there's other games out there that requires way less memory like that, and they're better for it. Harada's like our biggest op, and this is what you guys don't consider as well. He said that he doesn't want people to know how to play the game. That's why he didn't want to put frame data in the game, because he thinks that Tekken is a better game when no one knows how to play it. Think about that. We stress how people don't know how to play this game, and we spend all day calling each other trash and telling people to learn the matchup and all of this stuff, right? But you have the guy who's in charge actively trying to make the game in a way to where people can't learn it because they think it's fun to play that way. Harada thinks it's fun to not punish. That's basically what it is. Harada thinks it's fun to not punish the Death Fist. He thinks it's fun to not punish the Flash. That's why it's so deceptive in its nature. And that's something that's not spoken about enough. I get his perspective. The fun of the game is making hard reads, noticing patterns, and creating cool setups, not memorizing. You know, like I see people out here struggling, and they play this game a lot. You know, instead of just calling them, you know, scrubs and like, oh, get good at the game and move on, you know, pat myself on the back. Like, I try to actively think about, like, why are they stuck? He's basically done the worst of both worlds, giving us an encyclopedia and then horrible punishment training, like fighting a god with a spoon. Exactly. Hey, that's pretty funny. That's a great point. That's why it's hard to please everyone. Yeah, exactly. And with Tekken 8, they went full on, you know, let's please the casuals. I get what they did, and I get why they did it. In Tekken Tag Tournament 2, they tried to do the hardcore route, and it failed miserably. In Tekken 7, they went a little bit towards casual, and it paid off huge. It makes sense that they went that way again. Like, it's obvious. If you sell apples, let's say you sell a couple of apples. You don't sell that much. A lot of your apples go rotten. You go out there the next day, and you're like, okay, I'm going to sell bananas now. All of the players who liked apples, they're like, wait, what? Why do you have bananas? What is this? Right? But you sell some bananas, and it's a huge success. Huge success. Everyone loved your bananas. So then you're like, okay, now I'm only selling bananas. We're not selling apples no more. No more apples, just bananas. I get why they did it. Tekken 7, they tried bananas. It worked hugely. Now at Tekken 8, they're only selling bananas. Now they have all these bananas, and they have a hate mob saying, we want apples. We want apples. That's what people want for season 2 is apples. And now they're in this weird position. Do you dump the bananas because no one's buying them? Some people are. Some people's going in and buying some bananas. But you have a angry protest for apples. Everyone who's buying bananas can see the protests. So they're discouraged, and also they're being bullied. So it's like, what do? I like to describe Tekken in terms of food. And that's why I think it's so important to talk about these things that the developers are doing, because they literally told us, this is the game that's fun to watch, and we made it unfun to play because we disliked the way that you guys were playing it in a tournament. This game was created in a very weird way, and it's no surprise that they're getting the amount of pushback that they are. A very weird logic. Some would argue they flew too close to the sun. You know the story of Icarus? Of course you do. This is a turning point for Tekken, and this is why I try to be unaccepting as a lot of these things as possible. Because if we accept these things, you know how you used to be able to sidestep and then punish? Now you got to sidewalk. If we don't fight back now, you will have to do that in every Tekken forever. And I don't think that's how it should be. The only way we get them to revert it, which that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants season 2 to be a season of reverting. A lot of people want to see them revert Tekken 8 so that it's similar to what other Tekkens offered. I think they do need a massive push in order to do that. Yesterday, we were talking about how Harada makes it difficult to learn the game because he thinks it's fun to play the game that way. To that point, it is pretty interesting how the people who know how to play Tekken are not having fun with Tekken 8. And the people who don't know how to play Tekken, like they're learning or they're new or whatever the case may be, they love Tekken 8. Harada on revealing frame data in Tekken games. It's of course possible to display frame data within the game, but I wouldn't do it. If players could easily have access to such data within the game, it will allow players to uncover and find out the intricacies and details about the characters and their move lists much faster, which can lead to an impact on the game's lifespan. The game's discovery period will be shortened as the answers are easily available in game. For instance, you know how for like Diablo 4, when you beat the story, reach the end, then you unlock like this new difficulty, and that's when the real game starts. It's kind of like that for Tekken as well. It's like you're not really playing Tekken until you get a certain type of good, but Harada views it as that's when the game ends. For example, in Soul Calibur game, hand-to-hand weapon-based combat systems, the range on moves is typically long. You will have to factor in move frame data as well of the range of your character's moves if you want to punish certain attacks, making punishment hard in such game. This is Clive right here. So much range, and even if you can punish him, with him hitting you across the screen, you feel like you can't. It's like a psychological thing. He just tried to hit you at full screen. You know your character can't do that same thing. So it's unnatural for you to try and do that as a type of punish because that's not how you normally play your character. So I feel like this applies to Clive, which is why I think that Clive is pay to win, especially within matches, since the player must factor in the information and calculate if he can punish a certain move in a fast-paced instant. Therefore, players tend to develop a sense with playing the game in regards to dealing moves. That's exactly what I was just talking about. That sense is why the Death Fist isn't launch punish. Is why the Flash isn't launch punish. Is why like Haran's like back 3 or something isn't punished. Like a lot of these moves are launch punishable, but they look a certain way, they behave a certain way, and your game sense will tell you that you are in danger still. The game isn't developed in a way to tell your game sense that you are in a position of power and to take advantage. The reason why I wanted to highlight this is because players attack each other, calling each other trash, and the game is designed to lie to the players. And before we start calling players trash, we need to get the game to stop lying to players about frames, punishment, range, and all of this deceptive garbage that goes on. Additionally, in certain cases, some moves may have the same startup frame but differ with their animation, causing players to have trouble telling how bad a move may be on block. This instance is which a player may not know the data behind a certain move, can form alternate strategies behind different players. So if a player does realize he can punish a move because it's minus 14, he may opt out and say run and throw an opponent. See, run in and throw an opponent. In my mind, I think crouch and low unblockable. What? This is crazy. The case in which he doesn't know the frame, know the data, forms a different outcome inside matches, which is due to what an opponent knows and doesn't know. The different level of game knowledge between players is an important factor in fighting games. Harada here is admitting how not knowing all of these things is very important. It will change the outcome of the player, how they grow, how they proceed, how they do everything. So if that's the case, if we scroll back up, why are you trying to keep the players like uninformed? Why? If you know how big of a difference it makes, why are you doing this? I Googled this because I wanted to find it, and I wanted to remember if it was as egregious as I remembered, and it's even more egregious. If the frame data was displayed and freely available, every single player would easily have the answers to moves and situations opponents can throw at you, basically. Harada said basically. What? What do you mean basically? If you were to look at Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Heihachi, only look at the frame data, you may find out that he may not actually be a good character due to how bad his frame data may appear to be given if you knew the frame data. However, when playing against Heihachi inside a match, certain players may say that he has good moves since they feel that might not be punishable attack after blocking them, since they see a bit of heavy guard after blocking it. He has a word for the thing we're complaining about. Heavy guard. If we put this heavy guard on moves with bad frames, players will get confused and not punish it. What? Am I the only one who's blown away by this? With that, if players knew the frame data along with other factors that surrounded it behind moves, it may form players unconsciously playing in a flowchart manner in matches. But if you don't know the frames and particulars behind certain moves, then seeing players discover new and different things and forming tactics, then using new discoveries inside matches and seeing if they succeeded or failed, part of the fun of Tekken. So we don't want to tell you that the death fist is launch punishable. We don't want to tell you like that the flash is launch punishable. We want these moves to be used against you, and we want you to think about how you can come up with a strategy against it. And these strategies may be different. Some people's response may be to grab, do a unblockable, do a mix up, power crush, or that's what he's saying. He's saying he doesn't want players to perfectly punish. He wants them to just do garbage in return. This is the hurdle. Harada is the biggest op to new players playing this game. He doesn't want them to perfectly punish. He makes it as difficult as possible to see which moves are punishable because he thinks it's fun for the players to just do whatever in response. Okay, let's play for Harada. Let's play Team Harada here. Everyone talks about how the heat is like very samey. You just do the same heat mix-ups, you just do the same heat patterns, and it's very boring that way. Harada is probably thinking the same way about punishment. If we showed you all of the moves that are punishable and you punished it perfectly, he's thinking that it would become very boring. You would have everyone just punishing everything, and one, players would probably be scared to press buttons, but then two, you are kind of doing the same thing, which is punishing. But if you don't have punishment in there, I mean, you look at like a red rank gameplay, those guys are just doing everything. They're just doing whatever. So I get what he's saying, but I don't think this is right because a lot of people want to get good at the game. Think about this next time you're telling someone to get good at the game. That's my whole point.